Hello, students. I hope you all are fine. Today, I'll be starting off with your bliss class. Please take out page number 16 of your bliss book. I will be starting off with The Passing Away of Bapu, written by Nayantara Sehgal. See, the narrator had written this text or she had written this extract in order to bring out certain incidents that happened after the death of Gandhiji. Gandhiji, who was the leader of our nation, when he was shot dead, what happened to the normal people? She had just pointed out. So, first, I will be starting with Unit 1. See, at the very first line, it says, I was having tea at home on the evening of 30th January 1948 when I was called to the Birla house by an urgent telephone. So here the narrator is saying that the narrator was called on the evening of 30th January 1948 and she was called to the Birla house by an urgent telephone call, and the reason was that Gandhiji had been shot dead. We all know that Gandhiji was shot dead by Nathuram Godse. He was on his way to a prayer meet. I was numb with shock as I got into the car. The narrator could not believe the fact that Gandhiji was shot dead, that Gandhiji was killed. So she was still numb and she was so shocked. At the Birla house, Gandhiji's relatives and followers had gathered round his body. There was silence in the room as Gandhiji breathed his last. So all the people had gathered round Gandhiji's body. Words of Bapuji's death had spread through Delhi like a flame fanned by wind. Now please underline the phrase flame fanned by wind. Now see, we have known the fact that there is a phrase that says the bad news travels faster than the good news. So here it's a bad news that Gandhiji was killed was actually a bad news which traveled faster, and it was so fast that all the people of Delhi came to know about it very fast and immediately. After that, sad groups of men and women had collected around Birla House. Out of every window, one could see a brown blur of faces. They did not make a sound. There was an unnatural silence. You see what happened after that? That when the body was kept in the Birla House, there were sad groups of men and women who actually followed Gandhiji. They circled round there, and brown blurred faces could also be seen. Brown, the color brown actually signifies sadness. We have often read that in English literature, colors, symbols, okay, they have a separate meaning. So like red is the symbolism of danger, black is for mourning, okay, green is for jealousy. At the same time, brown is also for sadness. They did not make any kind of sound. Thus, there was an unnatural silence. See, why they did not make any sound? Because they did not know how to react to the situation. Everybody was shocked. Everybody was numb. There was utter silence in the entire place. Thus, there was an unnatural silence. So, after this, it was as if to them time stood still for those few minutes, as if the time was not moving. They could not believe that their great Bapu was dead. The people were too stunned to speak in the beginning. They did not know what to speak. They did not know how to react. Later, they clamored wildly. Okay, the word clamored, it means what? They started shouting. They started shouting wildly, crying. They jostled one another in a stampede to break into the house. What does the word jostled mean? They kind of pushed each other. And what was their only demand? Their only demand was that they wanted to see Gandhiji just for once. They wanted to touch his feet just for once. They calmed a little when it was announced that they would be allowed to see Gandhiji before the funeral. This situation ultimately came under control when they were allowed, when it was announced that they will be allowed to see Gandhiji before the funeral. We come to the third paragraph. When one is faced with the shock of loved one's death, one whimpers, "What will become of me now that he has left me?" Here, you see in this line, actually, the narrator is giving us an example. The narrator is saying what happens to the ones whose loved ones are already dead. The one who is dead, who dies, that person goes to heaven. But what happens to the people who are left behind? What happens to them? How do they feel? They feel as if what will happen to them? They feel like fish out of water. Similar was the situation when Gandhiji left. When Bapu left them, they felt as if they don't know what to do. They don't know what goal they have to attempt. They felt that as if they were fish out of water. This was surely the question uppermost in the mind of the mourning people. Mourning means sad people. They look like lost children. Lost children. Students, please underline in your books these words. These are keywords which you can use in your answers. These are very important. Why is the narrator saying that the people felt like lost children? See, Gandhiji was considered as the father of the nation, right? Now, what is the main objective of a father? What is the main objective of a leader? He somehow protects the entire nation from any kind of difficulties. Okay? For example, see, in your house, the only thing that you have to look into is your education. You have to study well. But you don't have to look into the basic necessities of living, that is shelter. You don't have to think that what food will be cooked. You don't have to think that who is going to pay your fees. So these are the tensions which are undertaken by your parents. So you are under their guidance, which means that you are safe, you are protected. When you are away from your parents, when they are not with you, and you have to take all the decisions on your own, you feel like a lost child. Similar was the case with all the Indians after the death of Gandhiji. It was a question in many of our hearts as we sat, still shocked and unbelieving. We listened to the broadcast telling the people of India that Bapu was no more. So here you see, again there was a question that came to everybody's heart. What would happen of them? They were thinking that what would happen to them after the death of Bapuji. Everybody was shocked. They could not believe. Because why were they shocked? Why they could not believe? They were shocked and they could not believe because the assassination of Gandhiji. Assassination, the word assassination means killing of Gandhiji, murdering him. This word is very important. You can use it in your answer. Gandhiji's assassination was very sudden. See, when a person is already sick, okay, and the person is sick or the person is old, the person is about to die, you will not be shocked of the person's death. But when a sudden thing happens to the person, a sudden thing, okay, of which we are not prepared, at that time we feel shocked. We cannot believe the fact. Am I clear, students? Okay. From Unit 1, the questions that can come are, why was the narrator called on the evening of 30th January 1948? The narrator was called on the evening of 30th January 1948 by an urgent telephone call as because Bapu or Gandhiji was shot dead on his way to prayer meeting. Then the question that can come, what was the reaction of the narrator? The narrator was numb with shock as the narrator got into the car. Next question that can come, that what described the scene that the narrator saw when he went to the Birla house. So that time your answer will be, when the narrator went to the Birla house, the narrator saw, Gandhiji's relatives and followers had gathered round his body. Okay, and there was silence in the room as Gandhiji breathed his last. There also can be a question that why do you think there was an unnatural silence? There was an unnatural silence because there were sad groups of men and women that gathered round the Birla house, and the faces of the people were brown, blur, and they did not know how to react, so they did not make any kind of sound. So there was an unnatural silence, and people felt as if time had stood still for those few moments. These are very important lines, students. Next, the question that can come, how did the people react? Okay, or what were their only demand? You can write the answer like the people were stunned to speak in the beginning. Later, they clamored wildly, shouting and crying. They jostled one another in order to break into the house. Okay, they calmed a little when it was announced that they would be allowed to see Gandhiji just before the funeral. Next question that can come, why is the narrator describing the citizens of India or the Indians as lost children? There you have to write, according to the narrator, after the death of our loved ones, one whimpers and thinks that what would happen to them. The condition of the Indians after the death of their father was exactly the same. They felt fish out of water. Okay, you can use this phrase, fish out of water, and they felt as if they were like lost children. Okay, and another thing that I just missed out is, you see the last line it is written, we listened to the broadcast telling the people of India that their bapu was no more. Here, broadcast, it is talking about the medium of radio. Radio was one of the important medium of communication during those days. Okay, and the reach of people means the people can get the information or could get the knowledge during those days through broadcasting, that is through radio. Radio was very important during those days, so that is also mentioned. It is very important, and their condition were like they were very shocked, and they could not still believe that their great father Gandhiji was dead. Thank you.